True to the theme of building a diversified green economy, significant provisions were made within the Budget 2017 for the advancement in Guyana's green agenda. On this episode of Government in Action, we continue to look at the Budget 2017 with specific focus on allocations made for the advancement of the green agenda in the areas of natural resources, agriculture, and the Department of the Environment. With President Granger's focus on the development of a green state, Minister of Finance, Mr. Winston Jordan, put forward several recommendations that aim to further the protection of the environment.
These measures include tax exemptions to businesses involved in the importation of green equipment such as items for wind and solar energy investments, water recycling facilities, and waste disposal facilities. Government has also allocated almost $1 billion for the implementation of a series of renewable energy and energy efficiency projects, following the charge given by the head of state for the public sector to lead the way in transitioning towards greater renewable energy use. President Granger has said that Guyana has more advantages than other Caribbean countries with regard to opportunities in the renewable energy sector. With such potential, the President said that the government is therefore working to ensure that these advantages are utilized.
We will promote a clean environment so that our children could grow up understanding the importance of protection of our environment. And again, we could exploit our high irradiation levels of sunlight, wind energy, and our vast stocks of biomass, and of course our hydropower potential. We have over 100 sites in this country from which we could generate hydropower. And if you go to Ukraine and you sat on the bank of that river, apart from the black caiman which will come to find out, if you try to put your toes in the water, you'll see the rate at which the Essequibo River, our great Essequibo River, is moving. And as long as the river is moving, you'll get power from it.
Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harmon, during the budget debate, said that the budgetary allocations will see the implementation of several significant initiatives which will save money and encourage conservation.
These interventions will be channeled through and managed by the Guyana Energy Authority. Additionally, under the Renewable Energy Program in 2017, we will install the first ever solar farm on a large scale in Mabaruma.
Yes.
The overall annual savings of $193 million and avoided carbon dioxide emission of 1,674 tons as a result of these interventions, as well as the further saving of $158 million by replacing 5,000 inefficient street lamps are indeed commendable.
On October 1 this year, the President established the Department of the Environment with an aim to oversee the activities of environmental compliance and management, protected areas development and management, national parks management and wildlife conservation and protection in Guyana. The minister said that the newly established department is actively pursuing the green agenda and will soon present a green state development strategy in collaboration with the United Nations Environment Programme that will seek to set Guyana further on its green pathway. This strategy, he said, will serve as an expansion of the low-carbon development strategy and will have a wider scope than the LCDS by incorporating all sectors.
This plan, Mr. Speaker, will reorient the structures of our production base, not only in the transition to low-emission resilient platforms, but also by diversification of the economy that reduces reliance on the alien traditional sectors such as sugar, rice, and bauxite.
The plan will also be aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all Guyanese.
Our Green State Development Plan will be predicated on the following pillars. 1, a clean and renewable energy so as to decarbonize the economy and society. And I believe sometimes we really need to decarbonize to get some of the gunge out in our thinking. improving the health, education, and livelihood of all Guyanese, sustainable management of biodiversity and environmental services, establishing green towns and resilient infrastructure, rural and urban development, and policies to trigger innovation, enterprise, new markets, green jobs, and competitiveness.
The Department of the Environment is also working on other projects that will help to achieve Guyana's goal for sustainable development. Head of the department, Ms. Ndibi Schwers, said that the department is currently working on the Rio Mainstreaming Project, a project which looks at the conventions on climate change, biodiversity, and land diversification, which came out of the 2012 Rio Summit in Brazil.
We're trying to ensure that we have the capacity to be able to treat with those three conventions. What has been happening, and it is already established, that without these three conventions, if we don't have the requisite skills and the requisite capacity, and if the agencies are not, they are not fully prepared to absorb the mechanisms resulting from these conventions, that we cannot really achieve sustainable development. So that this project is very, very important in that sense. And the project goes for 4 years. It's a project with UNDP, and it started on the 1st. The next stage would be for us to engage stakeholders. We are in the process of setting up a project board. And the next stage would be for us to engage with stakeholders in moving the process along.
Additionally, Minister Harman said that though 8.5% of the country's terrestrial area is committed to protected area status, an additional 2 million hectares of land will be added to the National Protected Area System as part of President Granger's pledge under the Paris Agreement. These protected areas, he said, will be located in all 10 regions and will become spaces for learning and innovation.
2017, Mr. Speaker, will see the launching of a comprehensive process to identify important areas for biodiversity and potential protected areas. This process will be based on broad stakeholder consultation and will be done in partnership with local communities, conservation NGOs, the universities, and the donor community. Efforts will be made to ensure that areas selected are spread all across Guyana's various regions, and that current land use and development potentials are also considered.
Other plans in advancing the push towards a green state come 2017 include a partnership with Germany that seeks to finance the infrastructure and equipment to improve protected areas, a project with the World Wildlife Fund, which aims to conduct studies about Guyana's marine territory and biodiversity, works on the intended Biodiversity Institute, which is set to be built at Ayokurama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development, among others.
The agriculture sector contributes 16% to Guyana's economy. But while the country has depended on the sugar and rice industries for quite some time, decline in production in these sectors has brought about the necessity to develop revamped measures by inspiring growth for the sustainable development of Guyana within the agriculture sector.
On the occasion of World Food Day in October last year, President David Granger reaffirmed Guyana's commitment to ensuring greater food security as one of the means of eliminating extreme poverty and hunger. But with the effects of climate change and the constant threat of droughts and floods, the President added that the goal is to make agriculture more resilient, especially against the effects of the cycle of droughts and floods. As such, much of the government's focus within the agriculture sector has since been placed on the development of inland and hinterland agriculture. Moreover, much focus is also being plugged into the area of value-added production and agro-processing. Works to achieve this goal have already begun under the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute. In fact, hinterland areas is a major focus on NARI's agenda, and as such, fits in with President Granger's vision of tackling food insecurity in those regions.
The hinterland areas has been on the focus. It's a major program for the government as well as for the Ministry of Agriculture. And hinterland in terms of all the regions. We are currently finalizing, for example, an agriculture program for Regions 1, Region 7 and Regions 8. These will be finalized. I'm speaking specifically about the agriculture program. These are going to be finalized by August of this year because we want to take into consideration for the upcoming budget in 2017.
Allocations for the agriculture sector amounted to $18 billion in the budget 2017, and these funds are expected to continue the work that has already begun with regard to President Granger's vision. With this sum, the largest the sector has seen, Minister of Agriculture Mr. Noel Holder said that his ministry will work towards ensuring that the sector continues to contribute to the economy. With these allocations, the minister said that the government intends on implementing strategies for the improvement of performance of various sectors in keeping with the president's vision. Chief among these is the declining state of the sugar industry, with the government's deep concern for the well-being of sugar workers and the state of the other sectors and critical need for investment in those areas. There is therefore a need to address these challenges in a sustainable manner.
The government has appointed a cabinet subcommittee to recommend the way forward for the industry after taking into consideration the recommendation of the Commission of Inquiry into Gaisuco, the report of the cabinet-appointed Committee on Diversification of the Industry, and recommendations emanating from the corporation itself in Duralia. These recommendations will be presented to Cabinet for due consideration prior to the end of the year, with a view to the implementation in 2017.
He stated that the successful implementation of these initiatives could return the industry to its self-sufficiency and eliminate its reliance on government for financial balance. Though the rice sector had also seen a decline in production, this is expected to increase in 2017. The sector also saw a 1% increase in exports within the last year. With focus on diversifying the agriculture sector, Minister Holder said that increased focus will be placed on non-traditional agricultural products, and within that aim includes becoming self-sufficient in the production of spices. Allocations have also been made for the purchasing of chemicals to treat farms countrywide to support the growth and development for crops in Guyana. With an allocation of $45 million in livestock, the minister said that this sector is expected to grow by 2.5% in 2017. The minister stated government is also seeking to reduce the importation of milk and milk products through the construction of a milk processing plant. Budgetary allocations will also be plugged into drainage and irrigation systems, education and marketing, strengthening the regulatory framework and other areas.
With an economy which is heavily dependent on its extractive sectors, the goal for sustainable development becomes one in which there is a healthy balance between the conservation and the exploitation of our natural resources, a balance which President Granger has referred to as walking on two legs.
To advance its mandate for preparing the nation for the future in oil and gas and the improvement of the overall management of the extractive sector, the Ministry of Natural Resources has received a generous $779 million. Minister of Natural Resources, Mr. Raphael Trotman, said that with government's duty to prepare the nation for the future, and with Guyana's future set in reaping the benefits of oil and gas, he assured that his ministry is working to fulfill its mandate. He said that the budgetary allocations for the coming year will do well for promoting the ministry's work in the three core areas of policy development and administration, natural resources management, and petroleum management.
And we are revising, Mr. Speaker, our oil and gas policy, revising the Petroleum Acts, creating local content policies and regulations, creating a Petroleum Commission bill, reviewing, Mr. Speaker, in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance, petroleum taxation, fiscal legislation, health, safety and environment legislation, and, Mr. Speaker, producing a framework and a bill to provide for sovereign wealth fund, which will have, Mr. Speaker, not only the ability to save for generations to come, but also to assist with budget stabilization in the lean years, to ensure that there's enough money for infrastructural and development and social welfare, and to ensure that regions and citizens can benefit and participate directly.
Additionally, the minister will also seek to establish a petroleum commission in 2017. In the area of policy development and administration, much focus has been placed on completing a legislative review which is scheduled to be presented early next year. The ministry will also soon submit a list of candidates to Norway for membership in the Global Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. Focus will also be placed on sensitizing foreign and local businesses about their corporate and social responsibility through a recently established framework.
There are 4 themes which make up the work of the work to be done, and these include, Mr. Speaker, green spaces, greening communities by creating and maintaining green spaces in conjunction with the Ministry of Communities, youth development in natural resources. This is where, Mr. Speaker, we teach youth mentoring, leadership, introducing them to the natural resources sector so that they can develop an appreciation and love for it and the environment where these activities take place. Land restoration by reclaiming lands and planting new trees and ensuring that there's agriculture within the forest. And lastly, a green business development fund, which will hopefully see at least 15 young Guyanese receiving $3 million per annum to encourage them with their projects which are innovative and which tend to be green.
Within the extractive sectors, Minister Trotman was proud to announce the stellar performance in gold mining, having declared a record of 641,688 ounces of gold thus far for the year, earning Guyana over close to $1 billion for the year.
Small and medium-scale miners, Mr. Speaker, delivered 429,188,000 ounces. Guyana Goldfields and Troy Resources delivered 145,236,000 and 67,244,000 ounces respectively. This means that the small and medium-scale miners delivered close to 70% of the total, and today I pause to congratulate them on behalf of His Excellency President David Granger and to assure them that the APNU and AFC government will never abandon nor undermine them and their efforts. Mr. Speaker, we understand their concerns and will be meeting very soon to discuss the way forward and one that is fair and beneficial to all concerned.
The mining community has expressed concerns about the provisions in the budgets about the lack of concessions and other provisions for miners. However, Minister Trotman said that the planned meetings with the miners will seek to ensure that the concerns of the miners are addressed. Next year, the ministry will aim to achieve an even higher output, and the minister assured that with a can-do attitude, this aim will be achieved. In other sectors, he noted that while diamond mining also continues to be a significant revenue earner, the forestry sector did not do as well as intended for the year, but that the ministry is poised to improve the fortunes for the coming year. Efforts will also be plugged into initiatives in mining safety, environmental management, training for miners, land reclamation, and other areas.
Next week, we will continue with a detailed look at the Budget 2017 in the developments of the Ministries of Infrastructure and Business. This is Deshandra Innes. Thank you for joining us.